Hey guys, this is Nefis here. I'll be doing a quick build video on main tanking, or rather main tank for vAS hard mode. A lot of you have been asking me, okay, well, we saw your off tank video, is there any way we can see a main tank build video? And there's a few videos already out there, but I might as well make my own because I started out as a main tank for vAS hard mode. I just had to shift over to off tanking because of roster issues. So to start off, I just want to start off with the gear first, just to get it out of the way. So for gear, it used to be for progression when we were first progressing through vAS and no one else really knew how to handle the fight in general. I slotted in something like really safe builds. I never really used Eternal Yokita because main tanking doesn't really have as many hazards as off tanking does, or whatever other role there is in the fight. It's a matter of watching Ohms, making sure he's positioned well, and making sure you don't, miss a block on his attacks, which can one-shot you or really almost kill you. So it used to be, I think, a health set or some really tanky set. I don't really remember. But once we started getting more comfortable with the fight, we shifted over to Torrings and SPC. So right now I have Alkosh on. It used to be that we ran SPC, Spell Power Cure, on the main tank, because the main tank can definitely keep up Blood Altar very well on Ohms. You have a lot of chances to heavy attack more or stand back, so the stamina pool wasn't really an issue. But anyway, moving on, right now I would definitely highly recommend using Torix Pact. The 5-piece just amplifies the Crusher enchantment that you'll use on your weapon on Ohms, and that will also affect your uptime positively. The 2-piece has always been a matter of debate to me. I first started out trying out Lord Warden or Bloodspawn or something, and now that I remember, now that I'm talking about it, I do remember what sets I was using. I was using like 2-piece Lord Warden, 5-piece Footman, and like 5-piece something else for whatever. But anyway, nowadays most main tanks will use something to help the group. One of the sets you can use, definitely not Shudan or Bloodspawn, to help the group, is Earthcore. Now that the main tank doesn't really use SPC anymore, and therefore don't use the Blood Altar skill, how do you proc Earthcore? Basically, you proc Earthcore with Energy Orb, and that's pretty much it. But more on that later. So you want 5-piece Torrings and 2-piece Earthcore. You preferably want this to be 5-1-1. So I have 1 light, 1 medium, and 5 heavy. You want the most max stats, and you also want the armor passives. It really helps. There's no harm in doing 5-1-1 for sure as a main tank in the vAS+2 fight. You have reduction of dodge roll with 1 medium armor piece. You also have spell cost reduction, magic recovery as well from 1-piece light armor. It's really awesome. Okay, so the secondary set you'll use as a main tank, most likely if you are in an experienced group, or honestly even the progression group can use it, will be 5-piece Alkosh on the main tank. So Alkosh, generally the lowest uptimes I've seen in vAS+2 in not very experienced group is going to be around 30 to 40%. I know Smirk, our main tank, the highest line breaker she's ever gotten on Ohms is above 67%, I believe. And Crusher was like 90+%. But anyway, Alkosh, basically your very standard debuff set for the tank. It buffs group damage by, adding the extra penetration, which means the DPS can take away a lot more away from penetration in their CP. They can more than definitely afford to go Apprentice for the Mundustone instead of Lover. Stamina in vAS+2, if you're a Stamplar or Stamp Sword, you'll probably still use Lover in conjunction with Two-Fanged, even if you have Alkosh. I'm not quite sure on that actually. But anyway, You want Crusher enchant on the front bar. The shield, it can be, honestly, I've experimented with many traits. Traits wise, I've tried all infused realms, I've tried all divines, sturdy. Traits wise, you still want infused on the front bar for the Crusher. You also want infused on the back bar as well, but you can go like 3 infused on your 3 main body pieces to get the most out of your health enchantment if you're going to go this route. I've seen tri-stat glyphs from other main tanks. I've also seen people suggest tri-stack glyphs on the small pieces, but honestly I prefer to stack a lot of health as much as possible for the Ohms fight, because he simply hits really hard and I don't want to risk dying as a main tank. So anyway, traits wise, I've decided to go with Divines on the small pieces because I don't really need Sturdy. I don't really perma-block Ohms only when he light attacks. There's plenty of opportunities to heavy attack Ohms when he's Steam Breath or something like that for stamina back, so honestly Sturdy block cost is not really an issue. So I thought to myself, alright, well, should I go on Fuse? Yes, I could probably do that, but I just figured I'd try out Divines, and then the Mundstone effects, depending on what you're using, is amplified by the traits, by the 3-piece traits, so I went with the Lord. You can go Atro if you want as well, but I've just found it to be a bit better for myself personally. For the enchantments on jewelry, you can go 1 block cost reduction and 2 magic cost reduction glyphs. The reasoning behind this, this was before Dragon Bones patch as well, when they changed the block cost formula and discouraged the usage of 2 or 3 block cost enchantments on jewelry. Basically, my reasoning behind these enchantments were, alright, well, I'm probably gonna use skill Balance, which I'll go into more later. So I won't really need magic recovery. I'm going to be using the Lord Mundstone, so the magic recovery from all this is pretty shitty even if I put a lot of CP into Arcanist. The block cost enchantment, I just put it there because why not? I mean, there's no harm in doing it, and it does help with the block cost for, in general, from Ohms, blocking Ohms light attacks, from blocking Cone, from blocking the AoEs during Storm of the Heavens. The 2 cost reduction is just there to help with the sustain on Magicka, and Magicka is really important as a main tank in this fight. And that's pretty much it for the jewelry enchants, the health enchants. You have the option of going double sword and Borden. You could put Crusher on both bars, but for less experienced groups I would still use Weakening. Even for more experienced groups I would probably still go with Weakening. This will affect your Crusher uptime though by 10 to 20%, but still I've seen people get high Crusher uptimes, like between 70 to 80% on Ohms in long fights without double Crusher. So there's also the question of, can I slot a Tester Staff? Yeah, you can definitely slot a Tester Staff. Lightning Staff, I know Inigo uses Crusher on both bars, and the wall from the Lightning Staff helps keep up the Crusher on Ohms. But after some experimenting, I just don't think the wall is what I just think the wall is whatever, considering the CP changes and the off-balance changes to the DPS builds in vAS as of the Dragon Bones patch. I'll get more into that later. I have a lot of things I have to get into more later. Now, the other interesting idea I've always kind of had in the back of my mind is slotting dual wield on the back bar for the Blade Cloak mitigation. However, your biggest worry won't really be AoEs. As far as I've experienced, it's going to be Ohms' swipes plus the AoEs, so I don't know if it will be worth it getting 25% mitigation from the AoE. It probably will help quite a bit with Cone and the Storm of Heaven's AoEs and Fountain's main AoEs if they land on you. So that's just an interesting thought I'd bring up for this build video. Alright, so let's get into skills. Skills. So, Engulfing Flames, this is one of the reasons why you probably want to Dragonknight as a main tank in the vAS+2 hard mode fight, because you are guaranteed to always pretty much have Engulfing Flames up most of the time on Ohms. This will help The DPS do 10% more damage from their, fire blockades, 10% more damage from their fire staff weaving. So it's pretty nice. It's always pretty nice to have it in any trial, to be honest. I've had Templar main tanks clear the hard mode foot. I think I've seen a Warden main tank, but honestly I think Dragonknight main tank is definitely the most ideal. And when you look at the class passives alone, it's like, wow, the 10% damage mitigation plus whatever is pretty nice. The healing received, everything, the resource return from Battle Roar, pretty much everything just makes the Dragonknight a very, very ideal main tank for vAS+2. But if you want to tank it in some other class, then feel free. So, Pierce Armor, this is your standard taunt, plus the Major Fracture and Major Breach debuff. We have Igneous Shield. I feel like a lot of people underestimate Igneous Shield in terms of just straight up shielding you. When I tried out not using it most of the time on Olms and then using it, I've noticed a big difference in the damage I took. So the Igneous Shield, when you pop it during Storm of the Heavens or a couple times when he's swiping you, it's gonna be very noticeable. Heroic Slash, the minor maim, plus your ult gain helps a lot with, the fire bombs and pretty much everything. You always want to keep it up on Olms. Balance. So this is what I was getting to earlier when I was talking about the magic cost reduction glyphs. So I'm going to be using Balance. This gives me my Major Ward and Major Resolve armor buffs, plus it gives me Magicka back as I sacrifice my health to do so. So since I'm using this a lot, I won't really be needing Magic Recovery to get my Magicka back. I just want cost reduction to maximize my Magicka pool's usage. The back bar is kind of a mystery still for a lot of main tanks, I feel like. I know some tanks like to slot chains and actually kite the Storm of the Heavens rather than stand under Olms in a safe spot where they might get only hit by 2 or 3. Storm of the Heaven breath AoEs. I've seen, I think Smirk slot Entropy. That's nice passive heal. Also buffs your energy orb going out to the group. You basically do more healing since you get more spell damage, and since the tripod is going to be your staple potion, you won't be getting any other major sorcery buff from any other source. So you can definitely try that out. But 3 guaranteed skills on the back bar are going to be Energy Orb, Efficient Purge for fire, and Poison, Divining Blast, and Green Dragon Blood. Green Dragon Blood is a lifesaver. It's also a really great passive way to get more healing from your mag blades near you, if they are near you, or just your healer behind you. It's really great. Definitely use it. Other than that, there's honestly 2 dead slots. You can do Entropy. I've tried Inner Light. I've kind of thought about double slotting Balance, but that's really up to you. You could try Circle Protection, but this is a waste of stamina in my opinion. Honestly, the best skills I can see in these slots are probably gonna be like Vigor, because you have a higher max stam pool with Alkash slotted. Right now I have like, sorry. Right now I have like 20k stam around there, so as an Imperial Dragonknight with Alkash on. So you could try it. I mean, I don't think it's necessary to survive Olms, because if you're gonna die, you're gonna die. Like, Enraged Felm's AoE plus an Olm swipe at the same time is probably gonna kill you, or really come close to killing you. Plus the Restore ultis and the healing done from your healer behind you, kiting the exhausted charges, will be more than enough most of the time, unless you notice that they're not healing you or whatever, and you can try slotting in. Other than that, I can't really think of any other skill that could go into these 2 slots. I mean, Mist Form, you don't really need it. I would definitely not want to be stage 4 Vamp anyway for the fight, even if I'm a main tank or an off tank, just not necessary. So you pretty much have some good options here. You try slotting Absorb Magicka for the damage mitigation on your back bar. You could try other things. Honestly, these 2 slots are really up to you and what you think are best. Other than that, that's pretty much it. For the ultimates, you definitely want Aggressive Horn. There's a reason why I feel like ult gain is not a big deal in vAS+2 compared to some other trials. One, with Bloodspawn, I just felt like I was getting ulti too much of the time, and it's like, a lot of the times, DPS are not within the 20-meter range that they'll get the horn from me. I can only horn from the main tank position on ulms when people actually like come in to put their traps down or whatever. So it's a very limited time frame for me to actually blow the horn. So Bloodspawn's not really needed. But this is definitely a very important skill. You want people to do more damage. You want people to get the guaranteed max health and such. You always want to use this ulti no matter what, unless in an emergency, like you have to res a healer behind you, or for whatever reason the healer's dead, or any scenario possible. You can definitely use Magma Shell. There's no shame in using it. There's no harm in using it. If you think you're gonna die if you blow a horn in the next 5 seconds, then go ahead, Magma Shell. Alright, so that pretty much covers gear, traits, skills, and lastly I'll go over CP. So CP is gonna be a little different from the offtank CP I shared previously. This is more or less because you're dealing with different kinds of stuff. You're always going to be dealing with ohms, so you want a bit more hardy than Ellie. To be honest, Ellie's not usually a big deal. I prefer to go to 64 hardy if possible. It also depends on what set you're going to use. Like if you're going to have Lord Warden or something like that, you probably don't want any heavy armor focus. But anyway, the guaranteed 72 points into Ironclad, that's what you need. The 23% damage mitigation is pretty nice against Ohms' light attacks and so on. Honestly, I think this is like a guaranteed for any trial now. After like experimenting between 21 to 23%. It's really nice in VSO. 64 hardy, and you could go as low as 9% for Elite Defender. But I prefer the 43. The thick skin, this is a matter of debate because sometimes you get a Felm's AoE on you, sometimes you might get an exhausted charge on you. But other than that, you don't really get much dot damage on you as a main tank. But I would definitely still prefer at least 10% damage, 10% mitigation from dots, at least. As for everything else, you can put whatever else into wherever you want. I mean, you could do more thick skin, you could do more quick recovery, whichever. Expert Defender, I actually toyed around with this when we were first figuring out vAS+2. It doesn't seem to work. I mean, maybe there's like a placebo effect. Oh man, I'm gonna like survive more light attacks from Ohms. Maybe there's some sort of placebo effect from there, but mathematically speaking, I just haven't really noticed a huge or even a little noticeable difference between not putting it into Expert Defender and putting a lot into Expert Defender, like 5% or something like that, something ridiculous. But anyway, if you're wearing Earth Core, you could probably get away with less than the thick skin. You can do more quick recovery or put a bit more into heavy armor focus. It's 650 resistance for 1% mitigation. So right now I'm just getting barely 3% mitigation. Almost 3% mitigation, but whatever. For Green Tree, it's vastly different from the offtank CP, of course. I still want you could go 100, you could go whatever. I prefer the 100. Because there's not much else to put it in my opinion. You can do 19% dodge roll cost reduction, but you honestly don't really dodge roll much as a main tank. You can do 15%, and there's no need for you to dodge roll for you guys out there. The dodge roll tank build guys. It can actually be a serious issue if you dodge roll too much and move Ohms' eyes over to left or right, where the DPS are. You don't need Sprinter, you don't need Warlord, nothing will CC you unless you're really close to Lothus for whatever reason, or if Lothus is stacked on you and Ohms, and you're not blocking for whatever reason. You don't need Bashing Focus, you don't really need Bash Ohms or anything, you don't really need Sprint cost reduction either. Honestly, it's just gonna be mostly Arcanist Tenacity, and that's pretty much it. After like this is for 64 points in Tenacity, there's nothing much you can gain from there. So you can dump everything between these two trees and these two trees. For both main tanking and off tanking, I prefer the same blue CP. 100 Blessed for the maximum healing output, 20 Elfborn. Just because don't need Spell Erosion, don't need Elemental Expert. And the last stand passive is really nice when you get low, and you will get low for the most part in vAS+2 if you're just starting out or whatever else. I know other main tanks have tried out Tactician, but going back to the point I made earlier, a lot of DPS dispatch, especially Magicka DPS like Magblades or Magsorks, don't really, or at least most of them that I know of, have 75 in the Dom anymore. I know some Magsork builds still do, but since our composition is mostly, what is it, 6 Magblades, 1 Stamplar, 1 Magsork, or something to that effect, we just haven't really focused much on off-balance uptime anymore. On Gnomes, I mean, the resource return from heavy attacking and off-balanced enemies is pretty nice too, but other than that, it's like not really needed for DPS anymore, so we've kind of moved away from Tactician, from running Lightning Wall on a lot of people, from running Lightning Wall on a main tank. So this is really up to you if you want to put more towards off-balance spec. And that's pretty much it. That's CP, gear, traits, and so on. If you guys have any questions at all, let me know down in the comments below. There will also be a link to the new website that Smirk really worked hard on. It's also her birthday gift to me, so I would appreciate it if you guys check it out. I also put the link in the description. So it's basically a website for me, by me, kind of, and we have all this information for not just off tanking and main tanking and whatever. We also have information for back healing, tank healing, interrupting, DPSing vAS at the moment. We'll add a lot more information and such for other trials and fights later, but right now Smirk has deemed it appropriate for us to release the website. So thank you guys so much for subscribing, following, and liking on Twitch, YouTube, and so on. I hope to see you again more in the future.